welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, this is Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I am Jessica. I will be your host today. And I'm here with the author of a book which it doesn't feel like historical fiction, and it's really not, because I think like you need decades past for it to be historical fiction. But then again, it kind of is, because the time period that this book takes place was a very pivotal time in history, even though it was 6 years ago. So first of all, welcome Meryl Branch-McTiernan, to Turn the Page podcast. Let's talk about what you should worry about.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. So yeah, your book, what you should worry about, um, it takes place within the first like 6 to 8 months of COVID,
Yeah,
I believe, which
a little bit before, a little like a month before, and then yeah.
yeah, which is definitely, I mean, something we all remember. And when people tell me it was 6 years ago, I still can't believe it. But it was like, when you don't when people talk about living in interesting times and living through history, I very distinctly remember being like, I do not want to live through history. Like, I just want to get on with my life. And your main character, Layla, she is very much in that space in so many ways, career-wise, life-wise, and the world shuts down, which makes it even more difficult for her. So do you want to just chat a little bit with us about this book and where the idea for it came from for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it sort of just came out of writing a lot during the early days of the pandemic. I was in an MFA program at the time, which I'd been really excited to be in because I was like, I need writing community. I want to be like around other writers. And then when we all shut down, it was just you weren't really making those connections. So I started going to lots of different workshops like that were just free on Zoom and just writing sort of random little, not random, but using responding to prompts and just kind of writing about the time, and then also memories of the old times. And then after about like 6 or 8 months of just compiling these kind of shorter pieces, I started to figure out an arc for a bigger story.
So it was to you always going to be a story that was set during this time period.
Yeah, like it was
Yeah.
more the writing turned into a book than it being an idea that I had to write. It was sort of like, all right, I have 100 pages of this. Let's see what we can do.
So your main character, Layla, tell us a little bit about her, and sort of like her character development, through your first drafts, and then where she ended up without giving too much away.
Yeah, so Layla, we open on Layla at the Sundance Film Festival, where she's gone with a friend to try to make connections and network. And she's living in LA. She's a New Yorker who's been living in LA, trying to get a career, a screenwriting career started, and it's been fits and starts. She sold something, but it didn't get made, and she's sort of frustrated. Then she goes to this party and by happenstance meets one of her idols, a filmmaker, a female filmmaker, feminist, while she's skinny dipping at a hot tub at a party. And from there, she decides to go back. She has the opportunity to go back to New York. It's just supposed to be temporary, with the hope of making her movie. And then everything shuts down. She has a subletter in her place in LA. So she's in her parents' apartment where she grew up alone. And with finally, she's sort of someone who's been running that's how she gets through things, just run to the next thing, sort of escaping. And all of a sudden, there's really no escape. And she's faced with considering things that have happened in her past and how she ended up, single at this age and without any romantic prospects. And so, kind of thinking about how she may have played into that, where she ended up. And then she decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go to Fire Island and join a share house, and reconnects with other people.
There's a lot of just different arcs throughout the story and just sort of like on her journey. You've got you've got the storyline that there was this boyfriend that she really wanted it to work out with, but the more you hear about him, the less great he actually seems in reality. Um, and obviously he's not, because he's like ghosting her and just not even like, it doesn't even seem like she's as much a factor in his mind as vice versa. She is still carrying this torch and he has very clearly moved on. But you also have her reconnecting with New York. And I mean, listen, everywhere was crazy during the pandemic. But there were some experiences I can say as a New Yorker that seemed very unique to New York, some of which we look back on now and we're like, oh my God, like our trust in Andrew Cuomo.
Right.
He did give these speeches. I think they were like daily
They
almost,
were daily for
right?
and he changed. I have this a little bit in the book. Like he would change the time. It was always somewhere between like 10:30 and 12. And yeah, I know that me and a lot of other people I knew, they sort of structure their days around that. And we had
Yeah.
no leadership coming from Washington, or not. So he became sort of the voice of whatever, the voice of reason.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like kind of got together all of the other states in the area, so at the time, that was sort of everybody's compass. Obviously now we all know other things about him. But that was I think like there was a very unique experience of that, and like getting these alerts as to how many people had died in New York City. And it was a really just a crazy time. But you do really bring us, through the buildup of like Layla's trying to get her movie made, and then she's told, oh yeah, no, we're moving this to Zoom. And it's like, what's a Zoom? To other things like being next to somebody in the bathroom who's washing their hands to happy birthday, and then everything shuts down. It was a really, again, interesting way of exploring loneliness and just how people connect with one another, and where we all put our priorities. Um, the part with the house share was very interesting to me. So, Fire Island house shares, is that something that you are familiar with? Because this is I'd been to Fire Island several times when I was a kid, but I was unaware of these communities.
Yeah, so it's something that's been in my life for a long time. I did my first share in let's see, maybe 2006. And it's certainly something that has died down, but really was, if you read literature from the 70s, it was a huge part of like New York City culture. Like I just read the book Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and which takes place in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's just like, oh yeah, a bunch gang of people get together, sort of for a wild post-college experience, once people are living on their own, and want sort of a communal thing. And so my character had done one of these house shares before she moved to LA. And once she's back living in the pandemic, a lot of her friends are married and have young children, and they're just like completely unwilling to see her in any capacity. So she finds out that the share house is open, and so she decides, like, why not? I'll take the risk. These people are willing to hang out with me. I'm going to go. Um, and it's sort of a random group.
Yeah, it really is. But it is a big part of her healing process being
That to be,
in it.
yeah.
What was one of your favorite just sort of scenes during this book? Because there are so many really great ones.
Yeah, it's let's think. One of my favorite scenes. I really like the beginning of the book because to me that it's the most fictional. Um uh Things that like the kind of my fantasies about having gone to Sundance had things gone down differently, and someone appeared out of the sky to offer me something, and meeting with HBO. So those were fun things just to imagine. Um, and yeah, I mean, I feel like there are just so many little random characters. Some are inspired by real people, some I just made up. Um, a lot of just fun episodes. I can't choose my babies.
I did enjoy there are scenes where Layla is reconnecting with people from like high school and just those interactions, which I found to be fun and endearing, um, because they did feel very real and very authentic.
As we grow up, relationships, sometimes they change, but they stay the same. You know someone really well, but now they're in different life stages. So that was fun to play with, especially with this thing where all of a sudden, it's like families can be together, but if you're not family, you're not supposed to see each other. So who is family?
Yeah, I know several friendships that were split up by who people wanted to bubble with during
Hmm.
that time. And everybody had their own reasons for that.
Right. And it was like, it was sanctioned. The government was saying, be careful, don't see too many people. So all of a sudden, for the first time, I think in our lives, we had to look at our relationships and say, who is safe, who's acting the right way. So there was a lot of judgment. I mean, in some cases with good reason, but also I feel like it did create rifts.
The title of the book, What You Should Worry About, did that come early on, or did you have to sort of think about what you were going to call it?
So that came very late. I was calling it unperishable for a long time, which nobody liked. And I guess I had a few other titles, but that title came when I was almost done with the first draft, and I was going to Mexico for a residency, a writing residency. And I was talking to my mother on the phone, and I was like, "Well, what I'm worrying about is blah blah blah." And she was like, "Well, that's not what you should worry about. What you should worry about is blah blah blah." And I was like, what kind of crazy thing is that to tell someone what they should be worried about? And then when I thought about it, I was like, that's sort of what happened during the pandemic. We were all being told what to worry about, which may or may not have been the thing that we were. And in Layla's case, I think she's not really afraid of getting COVID. She's afraid of not finding love or not getting the career that she wants. So even though everyone is telling her worry about this, she just isn't.
Which is interesting, and I guess why it is like the priorities are very different for her. Although she does see families not th things are not as paradise as they seem, bubbling with just your family.
Mhm.
It wasn't just a make it or break it time for friends. It was a make it or break it or time for families too, for various reasons. And I feel like we've never, as a society, really recovered from that, for reasons of our own, good or bad, like who we spend our time with. And what we worry about too, I mean, I know for myself, that time period definitely shifted my focus, as well. So it was interesting. And there was definitely some sympathy, because Layla's like, this is supposed to be my shot. This is supposed to be the break. And now everybody's just saying, "Oh yeah, no, I don't know. There's who knows if there's going to be even anything else," which just it was so incomprehensible.
Right. And I think that there were so many things that we would say like, oh, this is never coming back. Like I remember people saying handshakes are never coming back, and all these things that we thought society would be really changed afterwards. And some things did change, but it's not as obvious as we're certainly not living the same way that we were living during those years. And I think much of life has come back, but maybe we're all different people having
Yeah,
lived.
yeah, no. I mean, I do remember hearing, and this is relevant to Leela, oh, movies are never coming back. And I remember sitting on my sofa and just being able to watch new releases on my TV and being like, this is so much less stressful than sitting in a theater. But, there are pockets of people who've really enjoyed going back to the theater. Is it the same? Have a lot of theaters sort of shut down or changed the way they do things? Yeah, but Broadway came back. That was a big one. Production came back. And I was just kind of left with just this really nice, hopeful feeling for Layla as well, just going forward, having gone through all of that, by, herself for the most of for most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember the memes that people were sharing saying like introverts are really having their moment and stuff like that. And yeah, she being an extrovert was struggling, but I think that spending some time alone helped her to learn how to be alone and have that be okay.
And process a lot of loss that she was running from, because she lost her father and she hadn't been back to New York since that.
Yeah, so she was avoiding home on some level and then imprisoned by home.
So are you working on another book at the moment?
I am not as diligently as I'd like because of, doing a lot for this one. Now I don't know if I'm ready to talk about the new book yet though.
What types of books do you like to read?
I'm really into voice-driven first person. I feel like it's not as much about the plot to me. Like I'm more interested in just hearing a voice, hearing observations that someone, that are funny or interesting or just make me think. So I tend to go for first person. And I like, I have not read a lot of the classics, but I do like
I'm not gonna hold that against you. It's okay.
I do like books from like the 70s though, or like not too long ago. Because oftentimes you realize that, oh, things haven't actually changed as much as you think. It's still the same New York. I like reading about New York and LA, a few decades ago.
You're also a filmmaker.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So yeah, I have a film called Katie's Mom. I co-wrote it with a partner, Terrell Schaffner, who she was a director, and we both produced it. And that was all sort of happening with writing the book. We had started writing the film in 2015. And then we had, done our share of going to Sundance, trying to get producers, trying to get money. And then the pandemic actually helped us a bit because I think people had some extra money because they weren't spending it. So we ended up fundraising in the 2021 and shooting it in 2022. And it's called Katie's Mom. It's available on Amazon and Tubi and probably some other streaming services.
Well, I think this book is a lot of fun. I think people are really going to enjoy it. Thank you so much for writing it and sharing it with us.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
So once again, this was Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page podcast. Our guest was
Meryl Branch-McTiernan.
check out what you should worry about. And we are going to close this chapter of Turn the Page.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.